Hello, welcome back. I know it has been a very long time since I have done a video, so today's video is going to just catch you guys up on why that is and why teaching is hard right now. Last video was in December, and I did show you a lot of the things that we were doing in general for like gifts to the parents, so you really didn't miss much. That last week was just crazy time getting it all together and getting it out, and there was barely any breaks going on because we were using all of our breaks to get stuff done. So not much missed there. I'm sorry that I didn't get to record. It's just when I don't have a break and I have other things to do, there's no time for recording. And then over the 2-week break, I had intentions of doing some videos with my kids and my family. However, that didn't work out either. I actually left my camera at school for 2 weeks. I was like, very, very good idea. Then I was coming back in January and my family got COVID. Well, not my kids, but just me and my husband. So we were out for that first week back at school. I was at home. I was actually not feeling that bad, but just protocol, safety, all that. I had to stay home, and my para was here taking care of like both classes because our teacher next door to us took a leave of absence. So we have 2 pre-K classes, and like we were just trying to figure out how it was gonna work with no sub and no teacher, and they were combined, and it's just, teaching is so hard right now, and teachers are feeling super burnt out by all the expectations, and then this round of COVID is super contagious and people are getting it left and right. And luckily it's not that the symptoms aren't as severe that we're noticing, but you still have to quarantine and stay home, which means teachers aren't at school, which means other teachers are having to cover for those classes, and then you're not getting breaks, and then you're just like, oh, there's a lot. It's hard right now. So anyways, I was out that first week, and then when I came back, my para and her husband got COVID. So then she was out for a week. So same thing happened, combining classes and not having that extra para and just no breaks. So we survived the classroom time, but there was just no time for recording. And then last week, honestly, there's no excuse. My para was back. We figured out a plan for the kids next door. Some of the kids are now new in my room. Some of the other kids are still over there, and we have a different case manager going in to help out with that. And the para over there is amazing. So she's doing good, So my only reason for not recording last week was that when I turned my camera on, it was dead. And no, when I turned my camera on, it didn't have a memory card because it was at home. And then when I brought the memory card, my camera was dead. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna take the break. So here we are on the last week of January, and I am finally getting my camera out. Not much has changed. Like I did mention that we've gotten a couple new students, and also are doing a lot of our IEP meetings that revolve around like next steps for kindergarten in Florida. A lot of the students who come into the pre-K environment are under the eligibility of developmental delay. And in Florida, developmental delay drops off when they turn 6, which is usually in that kindergarten year. So we just have to have some discussions about that, see if there's anything else, any other type of eligibility that a student might benefit from, or if they need support when they go into kindergarten versus maybe they don't. Maybe developmental delay, they came into a pre-K classroom, very literacy rich, and they made the growth, and now they're good, So it doesn't seem like a big deal, but that's so many meetings for so many kids, and you have to schedule it with so many other adults and the parents, and it's a lot of paperwork. So this time of year gets a little crazy with that side of my job. And then having extra kids in here, just trying to learn our routine and our rules and our expectations. And then it was also, you see why I'm stressed? All these things that are going on. It was also our testing window for AP2. So I had to test, there's a test that I give to all the students. It's called STAR, and it's a computer program. We're kind of piloting it, so it doesn't really count for any type of teacher evaluation or even for the student evaluation. It's just a data bot, I guess you could say, that we can use to guide our instruction, and they're kind of just piloting it in our county to see if maybe it could be the next assessment. So I have to get that on all the students, and then I do a letter and sound assessment on all the students. And then my students that have an IEP, they have the teaching strategies goal data. So I had to go in and just look at anything that I had inputted before and then give them that checkpoint on all of those domains. So that does take a while. And then in addition to that, my VPK students have a VPK assessment that we have to do that has 4 different sections that goes over print knowledge, phonemic awareness, math, and then oral language. And so I have 10 kids that have to do that assessment, and then the other 8 had to do TSG. So it was just crazy not being there that first week and then coming back and having all these assessments. But I'm happy to say we are done assessing, and our next step is we are going to redo our small groups because a lot of the data has changed and some of the kids have made growth so that we can regroup them, as well as having new students in that we got to figure out where they're going to go in our groups. We're also switching up our small group time because we did just get a new paraprofessional, Miss Adriana, but due to not having a teacher next door, we're having Miss Adriana help next door with those students. So it's back to me and Miss Sam and then Miss Taylor that's here for our ABA therapist. And it's just, we decided that what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pull a group every single day based on what they need for math and what they need for reading. I'm gonna have that data, we're gonna work on something. And then one of the smaller groups of kids is going to just go on the computer for reading and for math. We've been doing Starfall, but we're gonna start transitioning into letting them get on MyOn, which is that computer program I've talked about with reading books, or maybe some ABC Mouse for the reading time, and then Starfall for the math time, even though it is kind of literacy too. But if you have any ideas for a math type easy program for pre-K students, post that down below. I'd love to hear. And then that leaves like 2 small groups combined, and we're doing an activity on the rug with Miss Sam. So it's still a small group, but it's gonna have more like 8 kids in it, and it's just gonna be a different thing each day. So every kid might not get the same thing that time, but it's just giving them something in general that we all need based on which kids are there. And it just helps to manage them a little bit better than having these 2 small groups, where sometimes those kids who are in a small group without a teacher, depending on which kids are going there, it's like a waste of time. They're just sitting there and they're not really getting any instruction. So if Miss Sam has a bigger group of kids, she can do an umbrella type activity that might not be as direct targeted to each individual kid there, but she can differentiate it as she's going. So we're trying that. This is the first week that we're doing that. I can go ahead and show you some of the things that we did in January so that I can catch you guys up. And then maybe I can do my weekly vlog as well and give you guys 2 videos to make up for lost time. But the kids are about to come in, so I will show you all that January stuff hopefully today after school. All right. Okay, so as promised, it is the afternoon. It is rainy. My room is like super dark, so sorry about the lighting. It's just like gloomy outside and freezing in Florida right now. They've lost their mind. I'm gonna start with, I don't have everything. I just grabbed some of the things that I keep in my little bin that says January. Some other stuff is already put away or passed out, so it's just gonna be a little random, but that's fine. Okay, so this one was the week that I was not here. It is just a winter hat. They colored on it with a white crayon, and then they painted on it with watercolors. And this was at the art table, how they do their independent art activity. And then we added some little pom-poms to make it a cute little hat. So that was super easy. Miss Sam was able to do it completely on her own, and they turned out pretty cute. This is Miss Sam's example. Then the week that Miss Sam wasn't here and I was here, we learned about snowmen. So this week was more just about winter weather. That was like the theme. And then the week that Miss Sam wasn't here, we learned about snowmen. So we read the infamous Sneezy the Snowman and how he melts every time he's around hot things. I actually have a freebie in my Teacher Pay Teacher store that's very popular around this time, and I can link that down below for you. And it just has a blank paper that you can actually copy onto blue paper, and it has a sentence stem on the bottom for you to talk, for the kids to be able to say how their snowman melted. Anyways, what I did for pre-K instead, especially without having all the time to be able to add that sentence part, we just did the craft part, and I gave them, it's kind of hard to see. It is actually 3-dimensional. This one's a little flatter because stuff was on top of it. But how you make this is you just mix shaving cream with wet glue, and you mix it all together, and I don't really measure. I'm like kind of like equal parts, which is probably why some of them are puffy and some aren't, but equal parts basically. And then they just like globbed it on, and then we had all these little pieces in the little organizer for them to put onto their paper, and it just looks like a melted snowman. And when we read the story, we did talk about how things melt, and we made a chart how to make a snowman melt, and we talked about all the things that are hot basically to make a snowman melt. In addition to that Sneezy the Snowman activity, we also read Snowman at Night that week, and we did this activity. It's just a sequencing one where you go in order, and it's from Homeschool Preschool 2019 it says. And this one was a little tricky because the pictures aren't really as detailed as the book, so I would just stop in the book and say, oh, what just happened? What did the snowmen do? And if somebody could tell me what they did, then we would put it in order of the chart versus like reading the story and then going back and putting them in order. And that was okay because they needed a refresher on sequencing anyways after being out of school for 2 weeks. So we did that on day 2 of reading the book, but on day 1, I decided to focus a little bit more on vocabulary. I mean, I know a lot of them are learning basic words in here, just communication and language, but I taught them some new words, and I just made this on my computer. It's like free clip art from like Google, so I can't really post it or sell it or anything, but I just picked out some words, and then I put a kid-friendly definition, and I put an image with it. And so when I taught the words, like for instance, the first word for drooped, when I taught them drooped, I said, when something is drooped, it like hangs or sinks down, and I showed them a picture of flowers, and so we took our arms and we went, drooped, and we just like drooped our body. Anxious was afraid or nervous about what may happen, and so we just like looked really nervous or anxious, you know, the new word. And then gather was to bring things together or people together. And then crooked, we just went for crooked, and it had a picture of like a crooked stick on the broom. So anyways, we taught those words, and then when we read the story, they were supposed to like touch their head or touch their nose or raise their hand if they heard one of those words, and then we talked about where it was in the text, how that helped them to understand what it meant in the story versus what it meant just by itself. It actually, this is kind of more of a K1 activity that I've done in the past, but a little more extended, where the kids are writing the definition, drawing a picture of it, stuff like that. I was a little nervous of how they would do it, but they did so good. And I have several kids in my class who actually went home and told their parents all about these new words that they learned, and they were doing the motions and they knew what the definition was. I was blown away. So definitely teach them new vocabulary in those words with the motions, and I'm also going to continue to do that. I'm going to try and do it at least once a week if I get my life together, and even if it's not as thorough as this, although I really liked this, I think this is why they remembered it. I'm still trying to really draw attention to certain words as I'm reading and coming up with motions with it. Okay, so that was like Snowman Week. We also had poems. Yeah, we had a snowman poem. It says, a chubby little snowman had a carrot nose. Along came a rabbit, and what do you suppose? That hungry little bunny, looking for his lunch, ate the snowman's carrot nose. Nibble, nibble, crunch. And then we gave them little white circles to build a snowman, and then they added on the details. So during that week, I also taught them how to draw a snowman, which once again, it's like those little things that you're like, oh, they can do that, but they can't. They actually don't know how to draw things. They like see it in their head, but they don't know how to actually put it on paper. So that was actually pretty cool. And then at art table, when they finished, they were like drawing all these snowmen, and we're very proud. That was actually a really good week. Okay, and then last week, everybody was here, but it was still just crazy. We had a field trip, our first field trip in pre-K, and we went to the Manatee Viewing Center, which is a place where manatees come up, and they made it like there's stingrays they can touch, and you can go on a walk on the dock, and there's butterfly garden and sand table. There's just a lot of different things, and it's free to go in, so we didn't have to pay for that. And then we went to McDonald's. So during that week, we kind of focused a lot on manatees. We learned things about manatees. At art, we cut out these little manatees, and they just made like a water scene about it. And then also it was the 100th day of school. So we didn't really get to do too much related to that because it ended up being the 100th day of school on our field trip day, and I did not plan that accurately. So nonetheless, that's what happened. I don't know what letter we did that first week when I wasn't here. I think it was D, and I think they might have made a dog. I think it's filed away, so I don't really know. But Then we did R is for rain, and we did E is for Elmo. This one's one of my favorite ones. And then this week, that I'll do a video for, we are doing letter B. And then just for small groups, since we were kind of short-handed, sometimes small groups didn't really happen. We just did a whole group activity that we just pulled from our, I have these bins that are labeled with the month, literally handwritten, and they're housed behind me, but this one's the January bucket. So we would just pull it out and do a January activity that we have had from the years past, and there's all kinds of different things in there. So January has been off to a rough start, but we're chugging along, and hopefully all you teachers out there, we can get through this, because I know that it's hard. I'm struggling. I know that so many teachers around here are struggling, and our passion is here. We're here for the kids. When we're here with the kids, like, it really is enjoyable, but there's just so many outside parts that are happening right now in our career that does make it pretty difficult to remind ourselves of that passion. So if you know a teacher, thank a teacher. If you know a teacher, pray for a teacher, whatever you need to do. And with that, once again, I am so sorry for my posting schedule being off. I hope you guys can forgive me and can be understanding. I'll try to get back on my weekly videos to keep you guys up to date and give you all the things we're doing in pre-K. If you did like this video and the update that I gave you, don't forget to give it that thumbs up. It's really helpful. Also, commenting down below and sharing this video with any of your friends that you think would enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I will see you tomorrow on my day, but whenever I get to posting this, to talk all about our letter B week and our theme, which is winter animals. Bye.